a single meeting, 5 major resolutions, and a message that is already stirring debate across Zimbabwe. The National Executive Council of the Amalgamated Rural Teachers Union of Zimbabwe, commonly known as ARTUZ, has adopted a series of resolutions touching on constitutional issues, teachers' salaries, labor rights, solidarity with Cuba, and support for Zimbabweans returning from South Africa. The decisions have quickly drawn public attention because they address several of the country's most widely discussed issues at once. Supporters say the resolutions reflect the concerns of teachers and workers, while others believe the proposals are likely to generate further political and public debate. So, what exactly did ARTUZ decide, and why are these resolutions attracting so much attention? Stay with us.
Revolutionary greetings, comrades and fellow Zimbabweans. Amalgamated Rural Teachers Union of Zimbabwe has just had its National Executive Committee meeting. I take this pleasure to call upon National and Central Provincial Chairperson to give us the resolutions that we had.
Good afternoon, comrades. Good afternoon, Zimbabwe. My name is Nixon Makupa, the Amalgamated Rural Teachers Union of Zimbabwe, Provincial Chairperson for National and Central. Today we held our National Executive Council meeting, and it was during this meeting that we came up with the following resolutions. Firstly, the National Executive Committee has resolved to work with the progressive forces in Zimbabwe to see to it that the constitutional amendment that has been made recently by the regime is totally reversed. Why we have resolved that a referendum should have been held in the first place, and some of the provisions that have been enacted in the constitution are not favorable, especially the one man, one vote. Secondly, NEC has resolved that the government should expedite the realignment of the Public Service Act with the Constitution of Zimbabwe, so that this can help to improve the working conditions of the teachers in the civil service. Then thirdly, the Minister of Finance is strongly being urged to urgently review teacher salaries up to the tune of $1,260 a month. Now, we came up with this figure because ARTUZ made the teacher basket of needs research and came up with that figure. And lastly, we strongly urge and warn the government of President Emerson Mnangagwa to seriously consider the issue that they've made of amending our constitution, that they should seriously reconsider the decision and make sure that whenever the amendment has to be made, it has to come through a referendum, and the issue has got to be taken back to the people of Zimbabwe so that they speak their mind to what should be in that amendment of our constitution. I thank you this afternoon. That has been the resolutions that we undertook this afternoon. Thank you, Zimbabwe. Thank you, comrades. Viva ARTUZ, viva! Viva! Viva ARTUZ, viva! Viva! Abasha dictatorship, abasha! Abasha!
ARTUZ has long been one of Zimbabwe's most vocal teachers' unions, regularly commenting on education, labor conditions, and public policy. Its latest National Executive Council meeting produced 5 key resolutions that the union says will guide its activities in the coming months. The first resolution concerns Constitutional Amendment Act No. 3. According to ARTUZ, the union has resolved to join what it calls the People's Coalition in opposing the recently enacted constitutional amendment. The union says its position is based on what it describes as the need to defend Zimbabwe's constitution. The constitutional changes have remained one of the country's most debated political issues, with supporters and critics expressing different views about the reforms. Before we continue, don't forget to subscribe and become part of our growing community for the latest Zimbabwe news, politics, and in-depth analysis. Also, tell us in the comments where you are watching from today. Are you watching from Zimbabwe, South Africa, Botswana, Zambia, the United Kingdom, the United States, Canada, Australia, or somewhere else in the world. We'd love to know where you're joining us from. The second resolution moves beyond Zimbabwe's borders. ARTUZ announced its intention to express solidarity with the people of Cuba. The union praised Cuba's contributions in areas such as healthcare, education, and international cooperation, while criticizing the long-standing United States embargo on Cuba. The union argued that the international community should pay closer attention to the humanitarian impact of the restrictions. The U.S. government, for its part, has long maintained that its sanctions are intended to promote democratic reforms and accountability, while critics of the embargo argue that it places a heavy burden on ordinary Cubans. The third resolution focuses on labor legislation. ARTUZ says it wants the Public Service Act to be aligned with Zimbabwe's 2013 constitution. The union questioned why Constitutional Amendment Act No. 3 moved through Parliament relatively quickly, while, in its view, reforms to the Public Service Act have taken much longer. Among the changes the union says it wants are provisions relating to collective bargaining and the right to strike. These are issues that have been debated for years by labor organizations, government officials, and legal experts. The fourth resolution centers on teachers' salaries. ARTUZ reiterated its call for a minimum monthly salary of $1,260 for public sector workers. The union argues that such a salary would better reflect the cost of living and help improve the welfare of teachers. Government officials have previously acknowledged concerns over public sector remuneration, while also pointing to broader economic and fiscal considerations when discussing wage negotiations. Finally, ARTUZ announced what it calls the Bridge to Belonging campaign. The initiative is intended to assist Zimbabwean teachers and learners returning from South Africa following reports of xenophobia and other challenges. According to the union, the campaign will compile a database of returning educators and students with the aim of helping them reintegrate into Zimbabwe's education system. Many observers say reintegration efforts could become increasingly important if more Zimbabweans choose or are required to return home. Taken together, these 5 resolutions show that ARTUZ is seeking to engage with issues extending well beyond the classroom. The union's agenda now touches on constitutional governance, labor rights, international solidarity, public sector remuneration, and educational support for returning Zimbabweans. Not everyone will agree with every position adopted by the union. Some Zimbabweans may support its calls for improved wages and stronger labor protections. Others may disagree with its stance on constitutional or political matters. Still others may focus on the practical importance of helping returning teachers and learners settle back into schools and communities. Whatever the differing opinions, one thing is clear. The resolutions adopted by ARTUZ have added fresh voices to several national conversations already taking place across Zimbabwe. As these discussions continue, attention will likely turn to how policymakers, educators, civil society groups, and other stakeholders respond. Will these proposals influence future debates on education, labor policy, and constitutional governance? Or will they simply become another chapter in Zimbabwe's ongoing public conversation? Only time will tell, but for now, ARTUZ's latest resolutions have ensured that the union remains firmly in the national spotlight.